The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Emergency podcast here on a Sunday morning here, March 2nd, 2025. For all you wrestling fans, it's going to be all wrestling here. Obviously, see the title of the show. Yes, if you're a wrestling fan, that the news is true. Yes, this is true. If you watched last night's Elimination Chamber from Toronto, Canada, the news is true. Yes, Mr. John Cena, Mr. Peacemaker himself, Mr. Hustle, Loyal to Respect, is officially a heel. We're going to react to it now. My man, Rob the Genius, of course, friend of the pod, contributor to the pod, family member, my man, brother. First off, let me start here first. I read your tweet last night. And black guys want to sleep early?
Oh, because all right, I fell asleep because look, man. Look. All right, and see, I usually watch stuff in the basement, and
right,
I sit in an easy chair and I have a blanket because it gets colder down here. And basically, when the couch and blanket win, they win. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't.
Brother, I feel it. In my case, the same thing too. Or if the wife's like, come up, hang out. If the wife's like, time to go to bed, we gotta hang out, spend time. Cool, with you. I get it.
Look, sometimes they take me at 8:30. Sometimes I make it till 11. Now, last night I did make it all the way until the beginning of the men's chamber match, and I fell asleep, and I woke
during
up
the main event, though, bro.
Because look, it happens when it happens, man.
I get it, brother. I'm with you.
Okay.
You and I are
look, I'm 50,
older now.
I'm 50 years old. Sleep comes when it comes.
45 in May. I feel you, brother.
You don't fight it. You don't. Okay. So, and I woke up. When I woke up, it was down to Punk, Cena, and Rollins. Okay, and then so I watched the rest of the main event, and then of course all the stuff that came after.
Yeah.
Because my original plan was I was going to, because I did not think that closing segment was going to be all that it was.
No, at all.
So I thought that, this is just going to be some bullshit. And my original plan was just to get through the main event and then say, okay, I'm done. But I fell asleep early, so then I woke up and I finished the main event, and then put us when Rock's music hit before Cena left the ring, and Cena was still standing in the ring when he came out immediately. That kind of set off my radar a little bit, like, oh, okay, this isn't just gonna be him talking to Cody, maybe. Because
so you did watch real time still?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. So I'll tell you real quick. If we get to the whole thing here. So I was in and out of the show most of the night because I was out with friends. Took the kids out to a little like play thing. It's called Sky Zone. Is a thing.
Oh yeah.
And but I was watching the show though on my phone. This is a great thing about 2025 now. You have technology. In our heyday, that it wasn't possible. Now we can do that kind of stuff now on these streets. So I was watching the show, so I knew what was going on. I knew obviously Bianca won. I watched that match. I'll get to that in a second, and everything else. But I missed part of the KO match on the way home, and whatnot. But I made it home in time for the men's chamber, and I watched the men's chamber. My kids are also into wrestling as well too. My oldest son, especially heavily into wrestling himself, and my dumbass after the match sent him to bed. Goes late. Okay, it's past bedtime. I got time to go to bed. I think nothing else going to happen. He goes to sleep. And then that's when all the drama happened with Cena and Rock and Travis Scott, whatever. We'll get to that later.
Oh man.
But it was such a big moment when he was upstairs that this morning I made sure to wake him up when we woke up after, next morning to, hey, I need you need to watch this. The reason why is because this is a big moment. If you're a wrestling fan, this is my Hogan moment. So for him, he's a big Cena mark. He's a massive Cena fan. And so for him to see this, he had to see this, and he had to see this. And it wasn't enough for me to just tell him that. He had to see it as a surprise. So my wife and I made sure we were quiet about it. Me and watched it downstairs. He watched it in real time. He thought the first thing he came to mind was like, oh, we're getting a tag match between Travis Scott and The Rock against Cena and Cody. like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. And then when the whole thing happened, his face was like, and that was literally, and I see that, I'm like, dude, this is exactly what I did at 16 when Hogan turned and joined the NWO. So again, this is one of those moments. Obviously, if you're a wrestling fan and you're watching wrestling for as long as you have, you get it. All right. So obviously, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to this whole thing. What are your thoughts initially now?
Okay, so
real quick, by the way, if you guys are in the comments, also see you want to chat with us, we'll flash your chats. Your what you want to say on the screen here, but it's a live podcast. You guys feel free to chat with us and give your thoughts on the whole thing, on Elimination Chamber and John Cena and all that. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Okay, so like I said, when the match ended, and then when Rock immediately came out there, and Cena was still in the ring, yeah, I did kind of think, oh, well, there might be a little bit more to this, because at first I was just thinking that it was just going to be him and Cody, and they're going to just rehash the same stuff they'd been talking the last couple of weeks.
Right.
And so, because originally I was like, are you serious? This is going to be the end of the show, not a match. They're going to make it, they really think we're going to hang around for this shit? I mean, that was my original thinking, okay? Because, these last couple of weeks, these promo segments they've had been kind of was weird and kind of, jacking yourself off almost kind of thing, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. Okay. But, that was my first thought. Like, and when they started announcing the men's chamber match, I was like, oh, they're really gonna do that at the end of the show. Like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch this dude jerk himself off 3 times in 8 days. I'm not doing this. Okay. So then when his music hit immediately while Cena was still standing in the ring.
You mean Cody or Rock?
Rock's music hit first.
Rock, okay. Because Cody came out first, then Rock.
Oh, he did? Okay, whichever one came out first. Okay. But still, the fact that the music hit while Cena was still, before Cena left the ring, and he didn't leave, and that he didn't leave. Right? Because, otherwise, if they'd hit his music, played his music, and he left the ring and all that, then it's been different. But the fact that he stayed in the ring when Cody came out there, that was my first little kind of, thought that, okay, there might be something more to this. So I'm going to stay here. Okay. And then, as it went on, and of course, Cody off the rip tells him, go fuck yourself. And I kind of figured, like, look, I was still shocked and surprised in real time that they actually did it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So when it happened, I wasn't like, oh, okay, that's what I figured. No, it wasn't that. No, I mean, it was still that they actually pulled the trigger on it. I was still, it was shocking because, look, we had all kind of resigned ourselves to, well, this is the farewell tour. He's going to get, it's going to be like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's going to go to different cities and they're going to, give him a gift here and a gift there and, whatever. And, I think we had all kind of resigned ourselves to that. And also, this is the Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber is usually, it's not a throwaway show.
But that's the thing, though, and that's what makes it beautiful. I mean, if you think about it, and obviously the big comparison people are using right now, which I think is a little bit unfair, but I understand why, because given the magnitude of these guys, is the Hulk Hogan turn in 1996. National Beach is a throwaway show as well too. You think about it, not throwaway show, but it's not Starrcade.
No, and the big summer show for WCW was Great American Bash, which was
correct,
which was the month before.
So doing that on a show like this is kind of a swerve also in itself because you're not expecting it something like that to happen at a otherwise show. Maybe Money in the Bank will be the only closest one. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. Continue. Go ahead.
Elimination Chamber is a B show. It's not
without question. Without question. I mean, it is a setup to WrestleMania. It is important because obviously it's whoever gets whoever did not make win the Rumble, your second opportunity to get a champion.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's about it. Yeah.
Other than that, it's usually a forgettable show.
For real, yeah, without question.
I'm being honest.
It won't be now. I'll tell you that much after last night.
Yeah, no, not at all. So to do it here and then to do it the way that they did it.
Yeah.
And look, anybody tells you they saw it coming is lying to you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, so I give them credit for that or at least I don't think nobody saw it coming the way that it happened.
And apparently, what I was reading this morning is that apparently a lot of people in the company didn't know either. They kept this tight-lipped. It was just between Cody, Rock, obviously the people involved in the the angle. No one knew. They kept this on the wraps because they wanted to have the shock be so fresh. And like I said last night, I'm like, wow, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? And again, granted, I wasn't. You and I both were not. I'm not mistaken. I think you also, like myself, were not watching John Cena's rise.
No, I wasn't. Yeah,
Neither was I. So, but we do have the perspective now a little bit of for years and on years that you got to turn him heel. You got to turn him heel at some point now. You got to turn him heel, and they never did. Look, obviously the thugonomic stuff is he was a heel back then, but I don't. I mean, you want to count it, go and count it. I don't necessarily count that necessarily because he wasn't a star. He wasn't a superstar Cena at that point. It's the same thing with Hogan back in the day before he became Hulk Hogan. He was a heel, but we don't acknowledge that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the only comp we had was Roman Reigns, but that's different because Roman Reigns was actually highly criticized. It's funny, we just covered this last year on the podcast last week about better heel to Hogan or Roman. And who would have thought the precursor now things have come. But here's my thing too. Also, with all of this now, we're sitting there now. And also, we have 7 weeks ago WrestleMania. Now the road to WrestleMania begins. Now we're there. Is this whole retirement tour he did a swerve in itself? Because it might be.
That and I saw somebody suggest that because bad guys don't tell the truth. I mean, right? I mean, that's bad.
I mean,
bad guys are not honest people. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So, so that's what you gotta. You always have to keep that in mind. That bad guys are not honest people. They're not supposed. That's part of being a bad guy. You're not honest. You don't tell the truth. So it may not be, and that's you gotta keep that in mind. It may not be. And look, I would bet that even if he put it this way, he might have been thinking that originally, but if this goes really well, then then he might. If it goes really well, he might just say, "Look, I'm gonna hang around, man."
but that's my takeaway too. Also, especially too, is that this turn sets up a lot of potential creative now for the next year, because we're talking about Cena right now and all these different tentacles of this feud. Obviously, there's a Punk angle to this. There's a Seth angle to this. Obviously, The Rock now with the Cody thing. You know who's the one's talking about right now since last night? Where does Roman fit in all this?
Yeah,
that's another angle no one's talking about. Where does Roman fit in all this now? Because now he wasn't involved at all last night. He didn't get involved last night, unlike in the past. You have now storytelling now for Mania, possibly through SummerSlam, and maybe longer to next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And so that this really changes everything because I mean those kind of those kind of whispers people were hearing about, things having cooled off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was real. Like, I mean, that wasn't just people. That wasn't just like people just kind of complaining to be complaining, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there really was just things really were cooling off, and and it just, so this reignites all of that, and like you have to, you have to have these things to do at the right time, like because last 2023 when
Yeah.
things were starting to cool off towards the end of 23, and then Punk and Randy came back,
Right.
right? I mean, so you do kind of need those things. You need those things to happen at the right time because think it always cools off inevitably. Okay.
Yeah.
No
Of course.
matter how good a job you're doing of writing, of TV, no matter how talented your people are and how well they're performing, it always cools off after a while.
It's hard,
Right.
and it's hard to sustain that dopamine because again, we're talking about a product that doesn't have no breaks. There's no week off. Raw
Yeah.
continues every week. I mean, and to the credit, it's hard to sustain that for a long time. There's got to be some dull periods a little bit, and to appreciate the big ones. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And so, and now, and the way you keep things going for, longer periods of time is that you have things like this that you can pull out, you know,
yeah.
after a year or a year and a half. When you have stuff like this that you can pull out when things are starting to cool off, that's how you keep the run going longer.
By the way, Randy Orton came out last night. No one cares.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
another.
mean,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
but
No one,
yeah, and so it's I mean, and but that'll have its day also.
yeah, of course.
Um. So, but you got to have to keep. I mean, to keep the train going, you got to have stuff like that you can pull out every year or year and a half. Because look, I mean, they had the first WrestleMania, and they rode that wave for a while, and then in '86 they did the Orndorff turn, and that heated things back up.
Correct.
And then they did Hogan Andre, but then after Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3, things started cooling off,
Oh yeah, and then
and they did,
Savage. Yeah,
then they did the Mega Powers, right?
right.
So you got to have, and then because what happened, and then they eventually ran out of things, right? Because once the Warrior thing didn't really take, they were out of
The bill was fine, but once he became champion and Hogan left for a few
yeah, and
months,
just it
it
just
was quite clear that it wasn't working out.
yeah, and then but then they also didn't they didn't really have anything else left to do or to pull out after at that point. So and that's when the whole business cooled off.
Yeah.
And
So history shows you that this is going to happen. Whatnot. Here's my
yeah.
question, real quick. Go ahead. What you gonna say? Go ahead.
Also, and like I mean, and that was a big thing with WCW. Once the NWO stuff, once they ran out of things to do with the NWO, they never recovered from that. So
Yeah.
you got to have stuff to pull out every year or year and a half to keep the train going.
Right. I will say, and I slept on it last night, and I kind of like changed my mind on this. So last night I was saying, because Travis Scott was involved in that too. So Travis Scott, famous rapper. I don't know any of his music, really, to be honest with you. I know who he is. My kid loves him, so whatever. He came out with Rock last night.
Yeah.
And I was saying the only thing that made the whole angle last night like kind of lame, which wasn't lame for the record, but the only thing that was kind of the only demerit I gave it last night was the fact that Travis Scott was there. I'm like, and it was like, why are you there, dude? Like the moment just needs you. But then I realized this morning, Travis Scott actually is part of the swerve. Like, if he's not there, it looks way too obvious that something like that Cena's turning is a lot more obvious. Travis Scott being there, I think, in the end, kind of took away the possibility of that turn not happening because you're assuming that tag team kind of thing. Like I said, my son thought this morning, that when he came out with Rock, that we're getting a tag team match possibly between the four guys. And I think Travis Scott at least showed the attempt to put a swerve that you're not supposed to think about Cena turning until it actually happens. And that's why, in hindsight now, it doesn't bother me now. Last night in real time, I was like, oh, what the hell? Now I get it. I get it.
And like that whole thing was fun because like he was sparking up while the thing was first starting, while things were still unfolding.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he was.
I
Doing
didn't see that.
something
I tuned him out. I didn't even care.
he was doing something over there in the corner.
Yeah, I don't. To me, like that stuff. To me, like that's for the kids and for the. That's cool. I'm about the story. I don't care about the
And
politics
then
circumstance.
I don't know if you saw it, but he when he hit Cody, it was man.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that part I saw. After the
yeah.
fact.
Somebody didn't tell him his work. Somebody
Maybe it's an issue with Cody or something there. Let me ask you this. Before I ask you about the comparison and stuff, because now we have 7 weeks of creative to work with between Raw and SmackDown.
yes.
Okay, there's a lot of things they could do with Cena here, like
Yeah.
what he's gonna wear. He can't be wearing the same shit now. He's wearing for the last 20-something years now. The
Right.
khaki, whatever, the jean shorts, want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard someone mention on Twitter yesterday that maybe she wear leather pants or something, or maybe she should go Hollywood like The Rock did and whatnot. Hogan did. It's very possible that's up in the air, obviously.
Yeah.
Or do they go back and touch on a little bit of the Thugonomics character from 2002 and 2003 to kind of, him trolling and whatnot? Because there's a lot of that in play now that I believe they can touch on. What do you think? How do you think they're gonna play this out with him and his character for the next 7 weeks?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think you have him beat up R-Truth. That's definitely the thing that should happen.
Be R-Truth?
Yeah, I'll beat him up. Yeah, because I mean, R-Truth. John Cena is his idol and all that stuff. And
Of course. Oh well, yeah.
yeah. So you definitely do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot depends on how often is The Rock going to be appearing on TV.
Once every 2-3 weeks, maybe. I guess.
Yeah, because that's the difference. I mean, if he's going to be there, all the way through, then your segments are going to be different.
And by the way, for the record, I don't think this is effective without The Rock.
Oh no, I don't think so either. No,
because we discussed, and you discussed last year in the podcast. Mount Rushmore, blah blah blah. Rock's there now because of the impact. Now, even years upon years later on down the road, and now he's now getting guys, even in his 50s now. The juice he's still inject into this company now, right now, still. Last year's Build-A-Mania, and now this Build-A-Mania now.
Yeah.
He's Mount Rushmore guy.
Yeah. And so I think his involvement definitely plays a role here. Or it definitely was because Cena at this point, for him to do anything, he's got to feel like it's worth it. And he's got to feel like it's worth it. Yeah, he got to feel like it's worth it. Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, so this is a big thing. This is worth it. So I think, yeah, because so if he wasn't doing this type of storyline, then it'd be this retirement tour. He probably would just be doing a retirement tour as a babyface and just doing some dates and getting cheered one more time in front of each town and all of that.
That's too easy.
Yeah, but it's I mean, you can still make. I mean, just as a business, you can get some cheap money off of that. Even if there's no real story to it, right? Just
yeah.
I mean, just like look, people came out to see Kareem's last game in every city and Dr. J's last game in every city, right?
Kobe.
Yeah, and I mean when like this is the last year, and then yes, you can get a lot of easy cheap money off of that.
Which is exactly why I am now not convinced that WrestleMania is the end for him. Because I think this change is probably going to motivate him to want to do this for a little bit longer now. There's a lot of ways this can go. I don't think you do this and it ends in WrestleMania. I'm not saying it goes 2-3 years either. I'm saying you can get this going at least through SummerSlam and not longer.
Well, now the retirement tour was supposed to go through the end of this year.
Those WrestleMania.
Oh no! It was going to the end of. It was supposed to go to the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
So,
but even that, if it's in play, because if Cena's effective and the numbers are going to grow, because the numbers are going to grow now for this. You're going to captivate at least 6 months of TV potentially with this now.
Yes.
And who knows how he's feeling at that point? He may feel like, you know what, I could do this again. I mean, number one, he doesn't need to wrestle every week anyway.
Well, no,
nor do I want him to. You
Right.
know, I'd rather him be wrestling on the big events when it matters.
Yeah.
Just
And
show up to a random Raw, random SmackDown, and you're good.
yeah. And so I think if they didn't have this type of storyline, or you know what, if they didn't have something this juicy to do, he may not have even done a retirement tour. He might have just said, just call me whenever, which is
Yeah.
what he's been doing for the past few years.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think Return to Hearts might be part of the whole angle in general. That's the whole point, I think. My
Well, I think
whole
the
point.
retirement tour very well may have been a red herring.
Yeah.
To get us to kind of lock us in,
Yes.
and then do the turn. And I got to say that doing the turn now matters, right? It really matters now. They were like all those years that people wanted him, that people were yelling to turn him heel. It would not have hit the same because
You appreciate it more
and
now.
the same like with Roman, like there were people yelling turn him heel, but they didn't have any idea what that was supposed to be. They just they just said, well, people are booing him, so they should turn him heel. But there needs to be, if you want it to matter and not just be some gratuitous thing, then you need to save it up for the right time, and you need to come up with the right angle and the right story. And because the Roman turning and Hogan turning, it mattered when they did it.
The moment mattered because it made sense at the time.
And they were still surprises, but it mattered that they waited until the right time and the right circumstances to do it.
Right.
And you shouldn't just, and so if they had turned Cena heel in 2013, it wouldn't have had the same weight to it.
It certainly has what's waiting now.
No, and
in 2025 in comparison to do it in 2014. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I agree 100%. 100%.
It would not have had the same weight, and you wouldn't have had the same circumstances, and it would just have been gratuitous. And he would have turned back babyface after a year or something, and then and the same, if they had turned Roman heel in 2016, same thing, right? It wouldn't have had the same weight, and it wouldn't have had the same gravity to it, and you probably wouldn't have gotten the same storylines coming out of it that we did. So now the same thing, we're getting that, they're doing it at a time where it has the maximum effect, and we're going to get the best possible material coming out of it.
Yeah.
And that's important because, like, looking to the future, well, there have been people talking about, when is Cody going to turn heel? And my message to those people is, look at last night. And
clearly we're ways away from that because they don't need to right now.
Yeah. And then also the other one is Bianca, because people, I want to see Bianca be a heel.
Oh, we'll get there because I have a lot to say about that. Because I think last night with Cena, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it definitely has. I think it is now given the liberty, whatever, if you want to pull that trigger down the road, you can do so now.
I think it's the same. I think she's another one you need to wait for it the best possible time.
Let it cook more as she can. Let it cook.
Yeah, you need the right circumstances, and you need something where you can get some lasting material out of it.
I also think too, Rob, also as well, not to cut you off, is that I think some of us are still used to the good guy, bad guy booking, and if it doesn't work that way, it's a problem. I think we need to understand that sometimes it's okay to be polarizing. I think John Cena was the first to do that, really, in a way where, like, even when he was getting booed, equally cheered, that's still good too. Also, that's still okay.
Yeah, but his character was still a good guy,
right? He stayed true to himself.
The best stories are still good guy versus bad guy. Those are the best stories. Okay, I don't care if you don't need to be faces and heels anymore. Those are the best stories. The best stories are good versus evil. They still are. Okay, they still are to this day. All right, those are the best wrestling stories. All right, we have a good guy and a bad guy.
Right.
Okay. And so, yeah, you still need you need clear lines drawn, even if some of the people in the crowd you know, don't want to play along, right? You need clear distinctions of characters. Okay, the stories work best when you have clear distinctions of characters. Okay, um, and that's because look, Roman Reigns, even though yes, a lot of us have been Roman Reigns fans for 10 years, and we've stuck with him all the time. He was a bad guy.
He was.
Okay, there was nothing virtuous about him. Yeah, So yeah, if he was your personal favorite, if he was one of your personal favorites, you didn't boo him. But he was an evil character, and Hollywood Hogan was an evil character, right? There was nothing good about him. And Sting is always, Sting is a hero.
Always been a good guy.
Yeah. And so there's something like you don't turn those people unless again you only do it when there's a chance to get maximum effect and to get a bunch of things come out of it, right? You don't um because like they turned Goldberg in WCW, and then they flipped it back almost immediately because it didn't, because there was nothing to it really. And it's just you got to save it for when it matters. You do.
Right. Yeah. Even it takes 23 years.
Yes.
Even it takes 23 years to do it.
Because it's better to do that. It's better to wait. It's better to it's if you can't create the right circumstances and the right story coming out of it, if then you shouldn't do it. And
that's what our boy Duke says. What makes the most money? And this is gonna make money. Roman turning in 2020 during COVID made money.
Yes,
Hogan turning in 96 made money and changed the entire wrestling industry on its axis.
And that's when you do, like, you don't turn somebody to appease the internet nerds.
I totally agree with you 100% on that, brother.
You don't, not somebody that at that point you don't turn them to do, and because it doesn't have the same effect, and then they eventually end up turning back a lot sooner, and then it's kind of ends up just being kind of directionless, right? I mean, like there's a clear direction here. There's a clear direction out of Roman turning. There was a clear direction out of Hogan turning. When Orndorff turned on Hogan, there was a clear direction. When Savage turned on Hogan, there was a clear direction, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like when I go back to '85, when Ric Flair and the Andersons turned on Dusty, there was a clear direction out of that. And I mean, like, those fans were climbing over the cage to try to get at them. Okay. But there was a clear direction coming out of that.
Yep, exactly. There was a end game, the storytelling there. I agree 100%. Let me ask you this though. So here's one of the biggest things I was coming out of that. And it's funny we asked this too, because we did a podcast when we previewed this whole event on Wednesday, right? It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we ended the show discussing, and this was random. We did this because it's a random thing I saw on the internet. I was like, oh, this is Robert, I can discuss this. And the thing was, we were discussing who had a better heel turn, Roman Reigns in 2020 or Hulk Hogan in 1996 at Bash at the Beach. And we had that debate. Obviously, now what happened last night with John Cena being who he is and where he stands in the company, and he's a Mount Rushmore guy and all this stuff. The first thing everybody goes to now is this on the level of Hogan, number one? Hogan was the best one, but also Roman, but Hogan mainly. I know it's too soon to ask this question right now because it's fresh in our minds now. But where would this John Cena heel turn from last night stack for you all time among some of the greatest heel turns in history of wrestling, I guess?
I think a lot of it depends on the follow up.
Well, real quick. Well, just shock value.
I'd put it up there with those. Yeah, I mean, I think
real time shock value. Top three, I think.
Yeah, I think those are your three: Hogan, Roman, and this. I think those are your three.
Hogan's still number one, though, right? You agree?
Say again?
Hogan's still number one, though, right? Hogan's number one.
Yeah, that's still because it just that literally transformed the entire business.
No one believed it until the next night. Like we were. This is why people was like, the people who don't say that's not Hogan. I don't think understand in real time how it was for me, for exactly, because I'm literally that kid. Like my son last night today was Cena, but it registered immediately. Hogan turning 96 didn't register in real time, even after the speech. It took watching Nitro the next day. Oh, he ain't fucking around. He is a bad guy. He really is a bad guy. You know what I mean? And again, one change a company, one change the entire industry. You know,
because
you don't have the Monday Night Wars, or certainly Monday Night Wars don't ratchet up because of this move. You know, Attitude Era probably doesn't exist because of this move. Because
right.
Vince had no interest in doing that stuff, that smut stuff, until he had no choice but to. And Hogan was the prevailer of that reason that happened.
Right, exactly. So you gotta for this to surpass that, you would need like it would have to
A catalyst is the word I'm looking for. I
yeah,
think.
like if you would have to have a farther reaching impact. Like if this causes Tony Khan to change his whole philosophy and then AEW turns things around and blows up,
Yeah,
then you can put it there.
that's what Hogan did with Vince.
Yes. So there was an industry wide effect. It wasn't just it didn't just where and then now Roman turned around the WWE, which and then there was a kind of a domino effect, with some of the, because the business got healthier and then some of these smaller outlets
That's true.
are doing better business, because the business got healthier. Those are two different things. Hogan turning changed changed the two biggest companies in business. Can change both of them. Okay. So this would have to do that. This would have to ultimately, for this to surpass the Hogan turn, it would have to spark something.
Everything
Yeah.
around it.
Yes, it would have to cause it would have to cause Tony Khan to change how he does business, and then whatever changes he makes as a result would have to also be effective.
Right.
Then you could say it's bigger than than Hogan. I
Right.
think.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I'm looking forward to see what they do on TV next. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm imagining that he'll be on Raw tomorrow night. He'll probably address some of what he did here. I imagine that's the play going forward. I haven't heard anything yet, but I imagine that'll be the next play for why he did what he did, because he did the whole thing. His press conference last night, he didn't say a damn word. He went sat down. I don't know if you saw that. Took the mic, took it off the stand like this,
Yeah.
and then dropped it, mic drop, and left.
Yeah.
So there was no explanation of what he did there. The Rock, obviously, what he's done, the final boss character is probably, I would say, the only reason why I would put it short of Better Than Hollywood Rock is because it's not a full-time character, but the impact of the Rock as a final boss is probably just as much impact as when he was working full-time with the company as corporate Rock. And by the way, also too, for the record, we could be seeing a faction developing here too at some point with this angle. The Rock maybe being the mafia boss and Cena's number 2, and then maybe they pluck out guys from other part from the bloodline. It's just, and that's when the Roman part gets a little interesting too. Also, maybe we love factions, Rob. We love factions.
So I mean, no, I think this final boss is a more effective character
without
because
question.
Hollywood Rock, he was there for 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was a nice run. I mean, it was a good run, but at that point, he was there for 6 months, and then he put over Goldberg, run away out the door. That was.
It also worked too because it wasn't drawn out in the same way his old characters were. Something fresh.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like it was. Yeah, I think this is a more effective character because it's affecting things at a higher level because like Hollywood Rock, he wasn't wrestling for the title or he wasn't involved in the world title. He was kind of off doing his own because I mean, he wrestled Austin at Mania, and then he put Goldberg over his way out the door.
Right.
at Backlash. So that wasn't even 6 months. It was like 4 or 5 months, and
And
then
for crying out loud, he didn't stay heel because they loved him too much. It was so
yeah, and then
over.
yeah, and then
Keep him
so he
heel.
was again, like I said, he wasn't involved in the world title picture, and as Hollywood Rock, it was a short run. Here, he's involved in the championship, even though I mean he's not wrestling for the championship, but
But he's doing it from a corporate angle.
yeah,
Because he's an actual shareholder. Actual
yeah, board member,
member.
yeah,
So technically, is a boss
and
from
so
these guys.
this character is affecting things at the very highest level. Yeah, it's affecting who holds the world championship, and that's a bigger deal than what Hollywood Rock was doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm still stunned at everything that happened last night. And the execution was great in my opinion. So obviously we'll have more about this on the podcast throughout the weeks and the lead up. So you'll be on here obviously discussing with us. There were other matches though, Rob, last night in addition to what happened last night.
Yes.
Yes, Randy Orton did come back last night at the conclusion of the unsanctioned match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Again, another banger. I know we watched it. Another banger though. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, bad there. The women's chamber that kicked off the show though, Bianca did win. And she'll be facing the winner of the Rhea Ripley Io Sky match, which is tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, and
Okay, it's gonna be Rhea. Come on now.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Yo last night because Rhea came down there to stare down Bianca, and then
then
Io
Rhea,
kinda, and
she's
then
so
Io
small. Yeah,
is like, "Hey, I'm here too, guys."
yeah, and it sucks too because she's really good. She's really
Yeah.
good.
But yeah, it's just yeah, I just
So Rob, we were talking on the podcast on Wednesday about this, and we're talking about how yeah, Bianca should win, and yeah, I'm glad she won because she's my favorite. But is there a gumption for a face to versus face main event between Rhea and Bianca? Is there like appetite for that? And not only that, in addition, my perception is that I think Bianca gets hurt because Rhea is red hot right now. People are a little bit tired of Bianca. Let's be real about this for a reason.
okay, so well here's okay. I think well, all right, it's one of those things. If Hunter wants it to be the main event, then they will give it the time and effort to get it there. I think, regardless of what he says, because he said because somebody asked him about that at the press, the after show press conference thing last night, and he said, well, the main event will be, whichever is, it's not decided and blah 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 blah. Um, that's not true. They know what matches they want to be in that to be the main events. Um, and they give them the TV time and the writing accordingly. So I think there's a good chance that he does want this to be the main event, and that he will give them the time and the promo stuff and everything to turn it into that.
Right.
Because and then the other, I mean, because the other option is Jay and Gunther, and the reason. So if you do that, it's because Jay is more popular than I mean, damn near everybody except Roman and Cody right now, you know. And also, if you don't do Jay and Gunther, then that means neither one of your Rumble winners gets gets an actual main event. And every year, at least one of the Rumble winners gets one of the night main events.
I actually do feel like Bianca and Rhea is a bigger match than Gunther and Jay.
I think it is.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, it is.
And I don't doubt, and Rob, I don't doubt
It is.
they'll put on a great match. That's not my concern here. My concern here is more so perception after the fact. I don't want Bianca getting hurt at the risk of Rhea's rise because they're both baby faces. You know what I'm saying?
It just
because Rhea's fresh and new, and for the record, I love it. Rhea's fantastic. I'm just saying that Bianca feels like old hat a little bit now. It's only a couple of years she's been in the company.
And this is a weird time for both of them, really, because
What do you say that?
Well, because just like character wise, what is Rhea right now exactly?
She's the hottest thing going right now.
No, I'm not.
She's
I'm not.
where she
I'm.
okay.
I'm not talking. I'm not talking about T-shirt sales.
Oh, you mean storyline wise?
Character wise, what is she right now? I'm not talking about how many T-shirts she sells. How many,
Okay.
character wise, what exactly is she right now?
Well, she's right now. Well, she was for the last year or so, and probably the same thing too. Also, the biggest badass in that division. And I mean, obviously the live stuff. The live feud was great. I thought. I thought the live. I think the live that feud made live a lot
Okay,
more.
but what my question is, what is she as a character right now? That's my question.
What are you getting at exactly? Tell me.
It's just it's kind of like, yeah, I'm Rhea Ripley and I'm great and I beat people up, I'm Rhea Ripley, I'm great and I win my matches.
Do you think she's gotten stale since the Dominic thing
I
ended
don't
and
think
all that?
stale, but it's just no. I don't think no. I'm not no. I just like what I'm just asking. Like right now, it's not very. It's I don't think she's her character is very well defined right now. Like what is it?
Okay. I guess
Um,
it's a good question. I'm not watching week to week like you are, so I mean, maybe you have
okay.
better chance of. I'm a little more of an outsider. I mean, at least lately because of me not watching week to week, but you have probably a better pulse on what she is right now. I mean, obviously the live feud was fantastic. I thought actually, and may live let $1,000,000 actually, but beyond that, you may have a point there about what is she? You know what I'm saying? So,
Well,
um,
because that I mean that goes into the build of the match, right? Because
right.
like again, clearly defined characters make the best stories, and if they're both baby faces, and if I think if having Bianca, if they were, I don't think you can turn Bianca heel now because
No, 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 no,
The
no. They
Cena
want
thing
them to.
overshadows everything, and it would be wasted, I think, and I don't think it would take really.
And not only that, and now with this whole thing with Jade and Naomi that happened last night, they're getting the match.
And that, and
Jade
the
comes
other note,
back and attacks Naomi. Bianca's trying to, she's locked in the pod. Can't help Naomi at the time. We have that angle. By the way, Jade come back, looks like $1,000,000. I think she lost some weight too. Also, not that she was never big or anything like that, but she actually looks smaller
yeah,
in stature. Is
well, because
my opinion.
you got to be more mobile. I mean, you got to,
Got to.
it eventually, carrying around more weight, it eventually, weighs you down, slows you down, and all of that.
But
Um,
I think there's a way. I think we mentioned in the pod last week. There's a way for Bianca to, even if she loses to Rhea, you can still make her look strong, and she can
oh,
still
I'm
be
not.
strong.
I don't think that'll be the problem. No, honestly, no, I don't think any of that will be the problem. I just right now, well, so we got 7 weeks. Bianca has to, whatever her part is in this whole thing with Jade has to be progressed. It may, even if it's not resolved, it has to be progressed some type of way, and that's going to eat up some time from whatever
I'm all,
she's doing. And
I'm also.
then
Go ahead.
and then again, like I said, right now, I was like, well, what is Rhea Ripley right now? What is her character right now? It's kind of undefined because yeah, I mean, with when she was feuding with Liv, she had an adversary, her, and she had two adversaries, Liv and Dominic, right? And okay, and that was kind of her character was defined by wanting to get revenge on both of them. And okay, so now that's done. And right now, like what's her, just right there's really just kind of nothing really going as far as her motive, who she is and what her character motivations are or anything like that. And so that, well, because what happens is that affects the build for the match. It affects the
Mhm.
promos that they're going to do,
Yeah,
and how effective those promos are going to be.
and
And
I'm not even convinced we don't get a three-way match, triple threat match in WrestleMania. I'm not convinced we don't get that. Honestly, this Jade
um,
Naomi thing is what could have impact on the Bianca thing. Rhea, who knows? I'm not saying it's gonna happen. First, I don't want that to happen because I hate triple threat matches to begin with. But I can't rule it out.
and if that happens, it definitely won't be the main event if it's a triple threat match,
Oh hell no, without question.
because that's going to have to do with you know angles and everything. But it's, yeah, it's just like you know, but yeah, it's just just who her character is right now is just kind of not defined, and so they need to, again, what's her motivation, and they need to come up with that, and they need, because again, it will affect the promo segments
Right.
if they can't find some good things to say, if they can't find some interesting things to say in their promo segments other than I'm great, you're great, we're going to fight each other, I'm going to beat you, no, I'm going to beat you. If they can't take it anywhere beyond that, then that will affect like the buzz and the interest in the match.
Right.
As great as the match is probably going to be, okay, you have to. I mean, the build matters, right?
It does.
And and
If not more.
it especially matters now because now if you look at if you look over on the men's side and you see just how many people they have doing these really just gripping, interesting promos, whether it's Roman or Cody or Seth or Punk or Sammy or Kevin, or Jay, even down to, Jimmy's getting better at it now, and Jacob Fatu. And I mean, like they have all of those men who are doing these kind of just very gripping, emotional, interesting promo work.
Yeah.
And so even like a guy like LA Knight looks kind of diminished right now next to all of that, just coming out there and hitting his catchphrases and all of that.
Mhm.
Even he looks a little diminished now next to what all those guys are doing.
Yeah.
And so, the promo stuff has to be interesting other than just, yeah, we're great and we're going to fight each other.
Yeah.
And I think for it to get there, then like they gotta they, they need a more clear definition of who Rhea Ripley is today.
And
You know,
maybe next 7 weeks we'll define that.
well, yeah, they do, and they do, and then and that's what you got 7 weeks, and it's just the question is, and this has always been the thing with the women's side the past few years, will they put in the time and effort to do that? Because
And I
that's
have
where
all yeah, I
that
have all the faith in the world, especially what Hunter has done with this angle, that with Cena and The Rock and everything else happening in the company last year. Now that Vince out of the paint now, I have
I
all the
don't
faith in the world that he will figure that out.
um I don't because he hasn't done that with the women so far. I mean, other than
Okay, that makes sense. The women, yeah, I guess that's a little harder.
and that's the thing. And even with the Liv and Rhea thing, Dominic was involved, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
Dominic was huge.
he
Dominic
was,
was
yeah.
MVP of
I
that
mean,
whole feud. Yeah,
so as far as just a woman versus woman feud or program, they just haven't. And so until they do, I'm going to assume that they're not.
well, we got
Um,
one commenter that said he feels like they're going to build Rhea's feud now. Like Triple H said, they're going to start the road now. Like I said, we have 7 weeks. Yeah,
okay,
probably. You're right, and he's right. You're right, but uh,
okay. I mean,
but he agrees. He agrees with you that his book women's been lacking.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
look, if he does it, then I'll say then I will give him credit and I will say he did
Yeah.
it. But
I do agree with you on that, though. I do agree with you that his book with women has been lacking
because
in
I
comparison to the
mean,
men. Yes.
because we just look at the last two WrestleManias. I mean, last year Rhea and Becky didn't really have any. They didn't have any consistent interactions even until the last 2 weeks. Okay,
Hmm.
um, and then Bailey and Io, they had some early on, but then it kind of got less and less as the weeks went on. And then the year before that, you had Charlotte and Rhea, you had Bianca and Asuka, and they had, had they barely interacted at all. You
Yeah.
know, building those two matches, and then throughout the year, even it's just I've said that the way he books the women is like he's playing universe mode in 2K, where every week, you pick there's a menu of
Right. Right.
singles or
Right.
there's a menu of things, and you pick one off the menu. Like, well,
Yeah.
this week we'll have a tag team match where they fight with each other, and then next week we'll have a run in before the match, and then the week after we'll have a run in after the match, and it's like he books the women like he's playing universe mode, and you every week you pick a match and then you pick an angle, and then and then you have a match at the pay-per-view, right? And there just isn't a lot of, even like just like the promos. The promos from the women's stuff is it's surface level, just snarky put downs and surface level insults and kind of surface level I'm great and you're not, kind of stuff. And I mean, you compare that to what, again, Roman and Cody and Jay and Punk and Drew and Seth and what those guys are saying every week.
Another question here. Do you think they will do a face-to-face, or is this a sign Bianca's turning heel?
I mean, that's another problem because turning her heel right now would be very forced.
Yeah, I agree. It has to be a little bit too obvious too. Also, like I already said on the record for the last couple of years that I would like to see Bianca turn heel at some point, but that's kind of not who she is right now, and it has to make sense overall. It's the same with Cena, for example. Like turning him heel years back for the sake of turning him heel because everybody's booing him made no sense in the grander scheme. And I don't think you have this we had last night to appreciate the 22 years prior of him being the biggest babyface in the company, to have this impact now. Last night does not have the same impact if Cena was a heel at some point in the middle of his run. The same with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' heel run for the last 4 or 5 years doesn't have the same impact if you don't have the first 8 or 9 years of what he was going through before that. Same with Hogan 96, same thing. Right. It's got to make sense, and has got to make sense for the broader scope, not just for the sake of satisfying the internet trolls. In other words, as you said earlier.
Right. Or even people who aren't trolls, but just who kind of want to see it. I mean, like there needs, because if you turn her heel now, okay, well, what for? Right. Why would you turn heel?
There, I mean, and again, there is a way to do it. I mean, isn't the Profits heels now? Yeah, they're heels, aren't
they? Yes, I mean, they're beating everybody up because they're frustrated.
Yeah, but she's also bigger than them, though. We look at Bianca as a top tier star, not as like one of.
Yeah,
top tier star. So it's a little more complicated there.
And honestly, turning her heel, to be in a faction with them, really?
Right, it's too obvious, man. That's way too and again, I'm someone that last year said that we probably should have done that. Now in hindsight, I don't know.
It's to me, it's just too hokey for me. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, and then spouses working together that closely, it usually doesn't work.
Right. All right. Let me touch on 2 more things we got here. Real quick. We got a couple minutes. I touched on it a little while ago. Unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. KO wins that match. Brutal match. Randy Orton comes back. Obviously, they get into it at the end of the match. I mean, it's clear that it's Kevin Owens as Randy Orton for WrestleMania, right? That's clear, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Coming out of that?
So they did an old territory callback when they turned the lights down in the building, because that just an unsanctioned match in some of the old territories was called lights out match.
Okay.
And they would turn the lights down, and that was part of the symbolism that that the company doesn't sanction this, like that this is going on without our involvement or whatever. We're letting you do this here, but we don't claim any responsibility for what happens. And so then turning the lights down in the arena, it didn't have the same effect here, because normally that would be the main event, and then because it would make more sense to have that as be the last match, because like here we have all the matches that we are sanctioning, and then when we're finished, when the official matches that we've sanctioned are finished, we're going to let these two people fight. And we're going to turn the lights down in the building as a symbol of us not being, not giving our blessing to this match or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, it is. I mean, it was a callback to the kind of the 1980s when they'd have lights out matches, and then the referee didn't have his normal referee shirt on.
Right. It was all black. It was all black. I think.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And look, I thought that they got about as close as they could to those Ring of Honor matches they did, I think. And like I didn't think they would go as far as they did last night. But I think they got about as close as you could get to those here. And because like there are a couple of them on YouTube. They had a fight without honor, and then they had a ladder war in Ring of Honor. And so I think last night was about as close as you're going to get to those.
Yeah. That's cool though. I like that, and I'm glad you mentioned that too. Also, I didn't think about that in real time, but as you mentioned it now, I was like, yeah, oh, that makes sense. And of course, other match, last match, no throwaway, obviously, but a tag match between Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton. They defeat Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Anything out of that interests you?
Well, I think you got the same question with Tiffany as you do with Rhea. Like who is she?
Is she babyface?
Well, she is, yes, because like the night before the Royal Rumble, Nia Jax and Candice LeRae beat her up and laid her out, and they've been beating her up and laying her out for several weeks.
I still think Nia should win that. I still think Nia should win the Rumble. Well, this is me.
So she is a babyface, but well, at least in execution, right now. But I don't think her character is particularly well defined as one right now. Like what good things has she done to make you want to cheer for her?
Too much too soon?
Well, I think it's just.
She is new.
Well, all right. Well, people. Well, it's just. I think
main roster news. I say not new.
Well, it's just. I think people started cheering her last year, right? It wasn't because of anything she was doing as a character. It was for superficial reasons, basically.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right about that.
Okay. And so people started cheering her last year. So it's like, well, we got to turn the babyface because people are cheering her, and then we can't figure out a way to get people to boo her. But they haven't really done anything in character or in story to make casuals want to root for her. Like if you're rooting for her for superficial reasons, then you're going to keep doing that. But
yeah, I am still stunned that Charlotte picked her. Let's just say that.
Well, because she wasn't stunned. Well,
I actually find from a storyline perspective, Charlotte picking Rhea is more interesting from a storyline perspective than say Charlotte picking Tiffany. But then again, we have 7 weeks now. Let Triple H at the book. Let them cook with it. Let's see what we can guys there.
Tiffany is the girl that some people think should be putting Charlotte out the pasture. So, and you see that on some comment sections in some places that, oh well, we don't need Charlotte anymore. We have Tiffany.
This might bug you a little bit, but a commenter here says, I blame Flair for that. Because they have to do this because Flair can't be a face at all. Well, Charlotte Flair also is not a face. She's a tweener, if anything, at best. If anything, she's closer to a heel than a face. Anyway,
she has said herself repeatedly that she would rather be a heel and she works better as a heel.
And she's better as a heel anyway. She's better in the heel than she's a face anyway. So
yes, and but they don't seem, somebody there doesn't seem to get that. And okay,
I think they do that if because it's a need probably for them.
Well,
and some means, and then they'll flip her again. She's easy to flip back forth. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
At best, she's a kick-ass person, like Bobby Lashley was. Wasn't a defined face, but a kick-ass. But she's close, better as a heel than a face, without question.
And I mean,
same Kevin Owens.
You can use her. There's a time and place where you can use her as a baby face. Like if there's somebody who just needs to get beat and just needs to be put down.
Yeah.
You can send her out there to do that, and then the crowd will cheer for it.
Like her and Nia Jax going against each other, yes. That would be one situation where, like, if you needed Nia Jax to dethrone the Giant, yes, that would be the one spot to do that. But overall, for the overall greater good of the WWE, she's a better heel without question.
Yes,
she's her father's daughter, man,
and
in every sense of the word.
Yes, and and again, she has said that herself.
Yes, I didn't even know that. I just said it because it sounded good, and I'm glad I said it.
Yeah, I mean, because she said that herself. She works better as a heel, and also she realizes that she's not a sympathetic figure. Okay, and she's never going to be because she's Ric Flair's daughter, one, and then she's 6 feet tall and she towers over everybody, and there's nothing sympathetic about her.
Yeah.
So there just isn't, and she knows that. She's said that she's not a sympathetic. She realizes that she's not a sympathetic figure. She's never going to be. But some people there still think that, I don't know. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, at this point, everybody should have an idea now. Everybody should know, especially if she knows. I mean, if she's not delusional about it, if she knows, then they should have figured it out by now. And literally, like the only thing, the only sympathetic angle you could ever do with her is if they were to, lean into stuff with her and her brother.
Right. Correct.
And it's too late for that now. They should, if they were really going to do that and make that a thing, they should have done that at the very beginning. So it's too late to do that now. But I think they kind of they don't know what they don't know what they want to do with. Well, they don't know what I think they don't know what to do with Tiffany as a character because all of her demeanor and her mannerisms and the way she talks and everything says heel. But people are cheering her for superficial reasons. Even when she wrestled like Bianca or Bailey, there were still people chanting Tiffy time. Okay, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I think if they're going to really commit to her being a babyface, then you need to have her get broken and beat down and put in a position that she has to climb back up from. I think, and and look, they have the perfect person to do that with. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
so if that's what they want to do, it's just it depends. It
Depends.
depends on what their long term thinking
You're
is, and
right.
I don't know what it is right now.
Right.
And then if she is going to be a baby face, I mean, her promo stuff still ain't the greatest right now. And you got to be able to give those heartfelt, emotional kind of promos if you're a baby face. Um, I haven't seen that from her. It's still very much, everything I've seen from her is just it's the snarky, mean girl, I'm great and you're not kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You got to be able to really dig down deep and
That's
hit those
that's why I'm
emotions.
that's why I'm curious how long she'll be champion for. I wonder if
Um,
they'll pull it after WrestleMania.
I mean, I think I'm biased, of course, but
Of course you are.
even objectively speaking, it would probably be best to have her get beat and then have to claw her way back up.
There's more value in a chase than there is in holding a title. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and because I mean, if she wins, then what do you do? I mean, what do you do? I mean, what now?
Yeah.
You have Charlotte beat her later. I mean, if
There's
you
more
have Charlotte beat
value.
her
Yep.
later, you might as well beat her now.
There's a way to do it where like she looks good losing, and then you build her up and make her even more sympathetic and to the point, and then eventually gets over that threshold. I'm with you on that 100%. So
Yeah, I mean, if they want her to be, if they're going to commit to her being a baby face, then you got to put her through some stuff, and you have to, and she's going to have to change the way that she talks, and she's going to have to figure out a way to just tap into that,
right.
that emotional side that people need to you know connect with you as a baby face, because otherwise I don't know. I mean, yeah, and I mean, otherwise they're going to be just kind of searching, to figure out what to do with her.
Right. Well, let's pull it. Let's end it right there. That's our recap of Elimination Chamber. Follow Rob on all social media platforms on at Rob the Genius on Blue Sky. I know you're not much on Twitter much as like you used to for obvious reasons. I don't blame you. I'm on Twitter or at Each Christian 7. Same thing on Blue Sky. Same thing at Earnest Christian on Threads. We'll be talking more about this throughout the week, of course. By the way, Rob, before I get out of here, congrats on Debo Samuel to the Commanders.
Thank you, because
Yeah,
look,
that's a big move for you guys. I think it's
we need
good if he stays
uh,
healthy.
we needed another wide receiver going to be on the side of McLaurin. We
And
needed that.
he's still got cap room too, which is good. I think third most in the league right now. And like I said, we'll be back later in the week to talk about this. I'm sure. You and I got another watch along to do in a couple hours, so let's get some rest for the watch along. So, guys, thanks to all people in the chat room for chatting with us today. With us on the John Cena. Wow, I can't believe it.
So
You cut me off, man. What the hell?
I didn't. I was wondering what happened there.
It might have been me, actually. It might have been me. So,
yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for come on the show. Until the next live stream, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you guys later.